Hi everyone, I'm Tyler from Thanda. We're an NGO based on the South Coast in rural Tulumne. And we started with after-school programs in 2008, and we've since added ECD and an agriculture program, and then we do a lot of different learning at home and home interventions, especially kind of since COVID has started. But yeah, one of the things that's kind of run through us from day one is we've always used a lot of storybooks in our learning processes, and have really tried to frame a lot of, especially kind of our social emotional kind of questions, frame them through and around storybooks. And the reason we do this is, like, if we look at the situation historically, pretty much every human society ever has told stories. Author Ursula K. Le Guin points out that we know of great societies that never invented writing, never discovered the wheel, but we know of no human society ever that didn't tell stories. And so that's probably not an accident. There's probably something very deep in terms of the way stories help us think about certain difficult questions, especially questions sort of surrounding things like morality, kind of guiding us in terms of our various cultures and, how should we behave and how should we face challenges. So yeah, when we look at stories at Thanda, we're really trying to use them in that kind of a way. So as kind of a mechanism to help us deal with and engage with, kind of really complex questions and questions that are hard to kind of just talk about or think about or explain. So yeah, and then we obviously also use stories as part of improving literacy and all that, but we also really use stories as a way to make kind of the other aspects of learning, which are maybe not always as much fun, more fun. So we found that, like, basically by framing our learning through the story, it makes it much easier for the kids to stay engaged in the less fun stuff. So, the technical side of reading stuff, learning the basics, the fundamentals of mathematics, which, can be really kind of frustrating and really challenging for young learners. So by incorporating those learning activities into something that's kind of based around and related to the story, it makes things a lot easier for the kids to get engaged in. It makes them kind of more willing to go through the headache or the risk involved in trying to bring these new skills into their repertoire. And then, yeah, I think the other thing that, that's been really important for us with stories is it's not just something that we use with our ECD kids or our young kids. We use storybooks in all of our learning interventions. So we do training with our farmers, for example, which is, not just based on vegetable production, but is more based on understanding customers' needs, understanding the market, understanding kind of the various emotional and social pressures which might be kind of challenges or advantages to them as farmers. And we've approached these questions in lots of ways, but the way that's often been the most effective for us is to read one of our kids' books and then use that as a platform to get into whatever else we want to discuss. And then similarly with our staff training, it's been a huge tool that we've used. So, like, on the one level, most of our staff are from the local community. A lot of us didn't grow up with a lot of storybooks at home. So, we take our facilitators through guided activities with these books so that they're kind of in a good position to understand the book and help the kids. But we also have books, like, for example, Cave Baby by Julia Donaldson and Emily Gravitt, that we never use with our kids. We pretty much only use that book with adults. And, it is a kid's book. It's written as a picture book and everything. But it also has a lot of really important messages for us as, kind of people raising kids and people who are in positions of authority. And so, so we've really, we've made an effort to use these books not just with our kids but with ourselves, and kind of always for the same reason, because they make these really difficult questions like, what is adult responsibility? What are, the right and wrong things to do when we're raising children, which don't really have clear or obvious answers. By exploring these ideas through a storybook, it allows us to really kind of explore them in a much easier way than we could through just a discussion or through other means we might try to kind of explore those ideas. Like we obviously care about literacy, and we realize that, books have an incredible role, especially kids' picture books, in helping, emergent readers get their foundations and be excited. But yeah, we also do really look at literacy as, also reading between the lines, also being able to think critically, being able to empathize effectively, and really kind of put yourself in someone else's position. And, I think books have an incredible ability to give us those opportunities, which are, not often available to us. One of the ways that we've used storybooks recently, and I think a very meaningful and important way, is during our learning at home initiatives that we started during COVID. So when lockdown first happened and we were all very locked up, we started out with actually making a portal on the internet where we kind of put a lot of our resources on the internet and read some of the storybooks and created kind of packets for parents to use at home. But these obviously required a lot of access to resources that a lot of, our parents in the community didn't necessarily have. So when things started to open up a little bit, we started moving into learning packets at home and then doing home visits with parents. And basically what we mostly did was, kind of look at the situation that, like, okay, most parents, or, again, in our case, sometimes it's grandparents or aunties or whoever, like, what you're doing in terms of raising kids, but you're not a school teacher. You don't have the training. And, people go to university for a very long time to learn how to do this. So we kind of created like a crash course for parents who were stuck, being a parent or a guardian, and then also kind of having to wear this hat as a teacher. We really kind of, tried to look at, okay, so, COVID's happening, we're dealing with all that bad stuff, but are there opportunities kind of hidden in this crisis? And, one of the things that we saw is, by getting parents to kind of play this role as an educator, we saw a very high plausibility that it might change some of their attitudes towards education. And again, the reality is, being in a rural area, given the country's particular history with education, not a lot of, the parents, and especially the grandparents in our community, are very familiar with things like books, and they don't often see kind of the value of being involved in the kids' education in a highly direct way. A lot of parents kind of looked at that as that's the school's responsibility, and we have a separate realm in which we're responsible for the children's upbringing. And by basically using the storybooks as the way that we kind of framed the learning at home, and then also by, really, I think we made a huge effort to approach the parents with things that we knew they would be comfortable doing. So we didn't include kind of everything that would have been maybe optimum from the kids' learning perspective. We erred on the side of, okay, so if you're a parent who doesn't have a lot of experience with this, what are you going to be able to do well? And then the things that got left behind, we kind of filled that in with our facilitators once things opened up a little bit. But yeah, we really, by using the storybooks especially, we were able to get the parents to really kind of see and feel how the kids were learning through these kind of engagements, and really kind of bring almost like the magic of these stories into their homes. And it was really important because once you've seen that, it's very, the parents wanted more. But if you've never seen that, it's hard to realize that is even there. So it was a really good, kind of opportunity for us as Thanda, and I think for our community, that we were kind of forced into looking at these things in this new way. I think we really believe that had we not had the storybooks to lean things on, and we were very fortunate, we worked with Book Dash, so we got, at a really affordable price, like a big stack of books. So every month we would send home a learning pack and a new book with with our home visitors. And so the kids were excited about a new book, the parents were excited about a new book, and yeah, we were able to kind of really kind of shift the attitude towards learning in the community for a lot of our kids and their households. So I think one of the other really important things about, kind of our Learning at Home initiative and, kind of how we incorporated storybooks with it is, one of the things that we've always focused on at Thanda is, kind of critical thinking skills, being flexible, being able to kind of, be creative in terms of problem solving. And I think it's something that, our Learning at Home kind of illustrated that we were able to do. So I think we could really see that, kind of these things that we had been aspiring to teach the kids were really doable. And again, kind of incorporating storybooks and looking at them not just as, kind of a basic tool to improve literacy, but as something with a lot more, almost like magic and power. Children's author Mac Barnett calls it wonder. So it's this space between what's real and what's not real that books allow us to exist in. By, really believing that that was something real and tangible, and kind of looking at the opportunity that was presented with, again, us all having to kind of shift the way we do things. I think it really showed the power of these kind of engagements. And so, again, the lessons, that not only kind of, I think these books were able to teach us as Thanda, but also, how these books made it kind of so easy for us as Thanda to bring a lot of, in some ways, kind of radical new ideas about education into a lot of these households. And kind of present them in a way that made sense and was actually really accessible to a lot of, the parents, and especially even the grandparents, which is not easy to do because, these are major shifts in terms of, how we're engaging with things. So, so again, I think it's a really a testament to the power of stories if they're used this way. And, again, both kind of the way we were able to use it as a tool, but then at the same time, the way these things really helped us to improve ourselves as well. And so, as much as we're asking the parents to kind of play this new role, it also helped us to realize, okay, well, we probably have to have a similar attitude. And so again, the engagement that we spent with all these different stories really helped us to approach the situation with that flexibility.
Hey, hi, my name is Janet Duma. I work for Thanda. So I've been working for Thanda for a couple of years, like many years actually. Currently what I do at Thanda, I'm a home visitor. So we started when there was like severe level of lockdown whereby the children were not allowed to go to schools. So we visited children for a learning at home program. With that experience, it's where our bond actually with the parents began, because they started to see us coming into their homes. Some of them we were able to talk to them on a one-on-one basis for the very first time, and they got to know us better. They got a deeper understanding that who is it that actually spent the time with their kid when they're at Thanda. So I feel like there's more that we've achieved over that period while we were helping them out with that schoolwork in terms of deepening our relationship, improving it with the parents in the community. We've got to achieve is like to get the parents being involved in the children's schoolwork, and then the more they got closer to the children, it's not only the schoolwork that they've noticed the improvement on. Most of them begin to actually notice the behavior of the child after the SEDs open and the schools open, basically. Visits the parents and updates them about how the child is keeping up with school. It's different because the parents, I can see now that they actually trusting us as Thanda. Now that they've seen us coming in, working with their children and helping them out with some difficulties that they had, I can see now they do trust us. Now the home visits that I do, I find more parents also not actually shy to express to me what difficulties they face with the children. I believe that our relationship as a whole and the gap between the parents and children, they are improving. Especially now, I feel like the parents are at the point whereby they see the importance of being close to the child and being worried about what is actually happening in their life. The importance of continuing with home visits. I feel like the parents have a support system now. I've realized some of the things that the parents didn't take initiative when it comes to parenting and giving children attention. It's not because they didn't actually want to, it's because they didn't trust their ability to do it. So now that we are there, we're journeying with them, I feel like they're gaining the confidence, the level of confidence in terms of parenting. And some of the parents, they're still teenagers. And some, it's old grannies who've been just left with the kid and their mothers are working in the cities and everything. So there's a generation gap. So some of the issues that they encountered with their children, they didn't know how to face. Now that we're there, they have a backup. They have confidence now. They know if they attempt to do something, they have someone that they can talk to about what they're going through.
So one of the opportunities that presented itself to us, another opportunity that presented itself to us through lockdown was, so at Thanda we've always focused a lot on literacy in terms of critical thinking, being able to read between the lines. When you read a kid's picture book, do the words and the pictures say the same thing? And how are those kind of engaging together to create meaning? Which are, I think really important, valuable skills in terms of literacy, in terms of engaging with the world. But at the same time, there's always been a bit of an issue that a lot of our kids, they're not really where they probably should be in terms of reading for meaning and basic phonetic skills, which, again, nationally is a big problem. And so we really saw this opportunity when, the kids had extra time where they weren't, in school all day and where, we only have so much time in our after school programs to actually come in and really attack directly some of the real kind of core literacy skills that some of our kids were lacking. And so again, we're still doing this through storybooks, we're still doing it through games, trying as much as possible to make it not feel like sitting down and learning and making it feel much more like play. But it's been quite a good opportunity for us and has allowed us to engage in, which is in some ways really the most fundamental literacy skill that everything else kind of builds off. So again, there's always a silver lining, I guess. One of the things I think that we're bringing to the table as Thanda is kind of an engagement with the other side of literacy. So, not just the technical skills, but the thing that those technical skills bring us to. Because really, learning what the letter sound is really just a means to an end. And the end is this kind of gigantic world that books open up for us. But for books to do that, you actually need more skills than just the technical reading skills. You need critical thinking skills. You need empathy skills. You need the ability to kind of engage in that world of wonder and be able to kind of put yourself into that other place. And then similarly, you really need to be able to, once you're there, take whatever you might learn from there and be able to bring it back into your real world. So that's something that we've really tried to focus on bringing into our programs. Again, as well as the more conventional literacy things. So if any of you guys are kind of interested in how we do that or, are looking to incorporate any of that into your programs, there's a lot of information about kind of how we do that on the portal. So there's a bunch of kind of different story studies of different books that kind of create like a small, it's kind of like 5 or 6 different activities that all kind of relate to the book as a theme and then explore kind of different learning avenues and different topics. So yeah, so if anybody is looking for that, it's available, it's free, easy to download. There's videos of all the books being read. And then they're in English and in EC Zulu. So yeah, so that's also a resource that we have if anyone wants to incorporate it anyhow.